For those of you that don't know me, my name is Patricia Tucker, and I am the Dean for Integrated Learning here at Wagner College. I'm also an associate professor in the School of Nursing. It's my distinct pleasure to be announcing our keynote speaker and friend, Gonzalo Mercado. Gonzalo Mercado is the executive director of El Centro del Inmigrante, located in a storefront on Castleton Avenue in Port Richmond. El Centro is a space where recently arriving immigrants can form friendships, receive information and training as they work towards assimilating into the Staten Island community. Through his experience working at El Centro, Gonzalo came to understand that community organizing can give immigrants a voice, a face, a presence in our society through grassroots community organizing. Working together, challenges can be overcome and individual lives can change for the better. Gonzalo, a native of Chile, immigrated to the United States to attend Toro College and graduated in 2004 with a bachelor's degree in business management and finance. He also studied German, Spanish translation at the University of Playa Ancha in Chile. He has traveled and worked with humanitarian groups both in Chile and the United States. He graduated from the College of Staten Island Leadership Institute in June 2005 and is also a graduate of the New York Immigration Coalition's Immigrant Advocacy Fellowship Program and the Coro New York Immigrant Civic Leadership Program. Well recognized for his role as a community leader, Gonzalo was appointed by Mayor Michael Bloomberg to the New York City Commission on Day Laborers and the New York City HIV Planning Council. He is also the coordinator of the Staten Island Immigrants Council and has served as a board member of the Community Health Center of Richmond and the New York Immigrant Coalition. He is also actively involved in local and national efforts to advance immigrant workers' rights. At Wagner, Gonzalo has been instrumental in the initial discussions, planning phase, and the implementation of the Port Richmond Partnership. He has graciously opened the doors at El Centro to every student, faculty member, staff member alike that is interested in collaborating with his organization. He's become more than a community partner. He is a dear colleague, friend, mentor, and role model to many of us in the room, on the Wagner campus, and on the Staten Island community. We look forward to his continued presence in all that we strive to do. Please join me in welcoming our friend Gonzalo Mercado.
Thank you so much, Professor Tucker, for your kind words. And before I say anything, I want to make sure I don't forget Imam Tahir's commendable work this Sunday. Make sure everybody reads this and goes to the event on how Albanians saved Jews during the Holocaust. It's going to happen at the Arden Heights Jewish Center. So if you don't have a flyer, pick up one. It's going to be an amazing event. They have the ambassador of Albania to the UN. This should be a great event. I don't want to take too much time. I know that I could say many things about Wagner, and I think I couldn't start talking about Wagner if I didn't say anything about President Warasi. And President Warasi's vision, I think, is what brought all of us together here, and also many of the other projects that we have in the Port Richmond Partnership, but also in the other parts of Staten Island. Cass. Where is Cass? Cass, you're hiding behind the pole. Cass, it's been amazing too, and I think her work needs to be also recognized and make sure that everybody knows how hard she works to make sure that all of the students get to where they have to get to, coordinating all of the programs, all of the professors and all of that. I think that's an immense work. Professor Tucker, which we started knowing each other when we started to get the nurses into El Centro and started to work with the families to make sure that they could start cooking with healthier oils and making sure that without taking them away of their own traditions, they were making sure that they can have access to healthier foods and to a healthy lifestyle. Also, all of the students and tutors and volunteers, anybody here who has volunteered at El Centro? I have a couple there. And we hope to have more of you coming pretty soon. And the work that we do is not just me, and I just want to make sure that I put that out there. It's all the volunteers of El Centro. It's the staff of El Centro, Hortensia, David, Don Jose, and our own Kevin Ferreira here, who is not only a volunteer and was an intern, but is also a part-time staff now of El Centro, doing all of our education work across the city. With many other organizations. And also Dr. Margarita Sanchez, which is not only a Wagner faculty, but also a board member now of El Centro. So we're very, very grateful for all of your input that you can bring to our organization. Just quickly, I wanted to give a quick background about how I came here. I mean, I'm from, as many of my friends say, the last place in the world. We're all the way down in Patagonia. So I was born in a city called Valparaiso, which for all of the poet fans is where Neruda, Pablo Neruda is from, and he still has a house there. I was born during a time of Chile where there was a very bloody dictatorship that lasted many, many years, 17 years. And so even though I was still young and I couldn't understand much about what was going on, I could remember when my family or like extended members of my family will come to my house in the middle of the night. And I'll just have to sleep with my cousins and my uncles, but I didn't understand why. And then later on I understood it. It was because their own homes were being raided by the militaries and they had to just run in the middle of the night. And I guess when I started to learn and understand what was really happening with our own country is when I started to have a passion for what human rights and also for the freedom of expression and fighting against censorship and all of those issues that happen in many countries around the world, not just Chile. Also when I left Chile, which was in the year 2000, 12 years ago, and I came to New York, I was passing through New York. And on my way to Sweden to go to school there with my brother. And when I was in Chile, we are a very insular country, and we didn't have a lot of immigration from anywhere. It was just everybody was Chilean, so we didn't really have much of a contact with anybody. And I always longed to have friendships where I can say, wow, I have a friend from Iran, one from El Salvador, from Germany, from here, and I could never say that. You know, my cousins or my friends who lived abroad, I was kind of jealous of that. So when I came to New York, I really fell in love with the city. I fell in love with the amazing diversity. I was like, I don't have to go anywhere in the world. Everybody's here. So my own exposure to what it was New York, it only took me a few weeks to decide I'm not going to Sweden and spend like 9 months of winter every year. I'm staying in New York, and that's one of the reason I stayed, and I started going to school here. And then one Christmas, it was about 2003, a friend of mine, I had told him, I'd like to do something for Christmas. You'd like to do some service activity or something. And he's like, oh, no, I know this worker center on Staten Island, and they work with immigrant workers. Why don't we just go there? They have this like clothing distribution and a hot meal for the workers who are here and that are away from their families. So that was my first introduction to El Centro as a volunteer myself. And I got there and I helped, serve the food and give the jackets to the guys and all of that. And then someone there told me, hey, if you're looking for a job when you graduate, give us a call. And it was, as you heard, my background was in finance and business management, and obviously I was around the same time with the jobs in those areas weren't very available. So I decided to give a call, and back then El Centro was a small program of Project Hospitality, and I started working at Project Hospitality as a case manager just for the workers. So that's when I started to opening my eyes about that reality, which I didn't know much about. I didn't know about why workers or Mexican workers were coming here. I didn't know what the struggles they were having while they were here, none of that. It was everything a learning experience as I was meeting with them and trying to connect them with services, trying to make sure that if someone was injured at the workplace, I can connect them with workers' compensation, get access to hospitals, and all of that. And I always remember the first case I helped a guy with, and his name was Leobardo, and this was a guy from Mexico who worked at a deli on Post Avenue, on Broadway and Castleton Avenue, and he had a broken nose, and I didn't know what happened. You had an accident at work. Well, kind of. This guy, we had the kitchen closed, and the guy, wanted for me to serve him breakfast, and I couldn't because everything was closed. He just came over the counter and punched me on my face and broke my nose. And I was like, but your boss didn't do anything. No, he just told me to, not go to the hospital or don't seek any help or anything like that. So, just leave. So then, I started to get to know him. Well, I hooked him up with a workers' compensation lawyer. We went to the hearings with him in Brooklyn many times, and then at the end, we were able to get coverage for him to get a reconstructive surgery, and he had his nose fixed. Then after that, many other cases, and I was like, it's really hard to hear all these stories that are really happening on the ground, and nobody seems to first know about what's going on the ground. And I was like, even wondering myself if I was going to have the emotional strength to deal with those issues, because they were like really heart-wrenching, everything that was happening. But something that always caught my attention was that even though really horrible things were happening to all the people, sometimes they even joked about it, not even taking it very seriously, even though it was a really bad experience that they were going through. And I remember one of the workers saying to me once, what are we going to do? Are we going to get depressed about it? Are we going to cry or all of that? I have 3 kids to feed and a wife. I have to go out there tomorrow morning again and find somebody to hire me to do something. And when I heard those words, I was like, first of all, I don't have nothing to complain about. It was like, looking at myself and saying, I really have it really well. Comparing to other people that I'm working with. But also just to see the strength of character and the vision that they have, that the reason because they were here, it was because to feed their families. It was like the most important thing I was probably taught during those years. There are times where you see cases that you sometimes really wanna you wonder yourself why this is happening here. We're in the country of opportunities, we're in the country of freedom, and all of that, and you start getting all these ideas bombarding on your head. But then you realize that until you don't start providing a voice for the issues that are happening on the ground, nothing is going to change. Also, if you're not providing the tools for people to advocate for themselves, and they can themselves come out and learn English and make sure that they're part of the overall Staten Island society, nothing is going to change. So that's when we started thinking about the organizing part of El Centro, and how it was so important for us to provide those tools for people and bring those issues out to light. Then in 2008, we had an incident of a hate crime in Port Richmond when a person rammed his truck into 3 Mexican-owned businesses. The same thing happened then when I met with the people who were affected, these business owners, who have been in the U.S. for about 5 or 10 years, and where they were able to open their businesses. They were like, if he thinks that he's going to scare us, he's actually giving us more strength to keep going and to make sure that we succeed as business owners, because we know that we would never be able to do this in our own countries. And now you see, there are probably 5 or 6 or 7 more businesses in the Port Richmond Avenue. So that didn't deter the community from keep pursuing their own dreams. Then again, in 2010, we had a spite of bias attacks in Port Richmond. And it was another hard time where people in the community were very disoriented, and we didn't know what to do, and some people were scared. Some people actually moved but the majority of the people knew that there was a conversation that needed to be had. We had two communities there, the African American community and the Latino community, who were not talking to each other, either because of the language barrier, or because of cultural barriers, or whatever. So we got together with the leaders of the African American community and say, we have to do something. And that's when we started the Friendship Dinners. And the Friendship Dinners was a program or an initiative where we brought people from both communities to sit together and have a meal. Just that, just get to know each other. Sometimes we all are very comfortable in our own comfort zones. And it's hard to get out of our comfort zones, but if somebody provides the tools, if somebody makes sure that there is a vision beyond that, that we have to accomplish, that we have to live as a community, we have to learn about each other, that's when 2 years ago they started, and now we're starting to see the fruits of those conversations. We formed a few committees, and we started to talk about the neighborhood, not about Latinos, blacks, or whites. We started to talk about, we need a stoplight here because the kids are walking down the street and somebody might get hit. We need to clean up Port Richmond Avenue and provide services, economic empowerment for the business owners. We have to make sure that the kids are getting a clean playground that, I'm sure you've heard, many of you, but we found lead and arsenic in the main park in Port Richmond. So all of these issues started to give fruits, and now we hear that in September, Port Richmond Avenue is going to be paved, and they're going to put stop signs in different parts of the area, and these are all the fruits that are coming out of putting these people together to talk to each other. I think these are our shared challenges, and we're always going to encounter challenges. When we hear about the anti-immigrant sentiment against Latinos or against Muslims, it's nothing different than what happened 100 years ago to the Irish. I was just reading about all of the horrible things the Irish people had to go through, and the Italians had to go through 100 years ago, when we had those no Irish allowed signs in factories and things like that. So when we start putting things into perspective and we make sure that we don't forget our history, I don't think we're going to repeat it again. Just to finish, I think there are things that might not be affecting you directly, and I think that's our challenge. When we have someone in our community that is being harassed or is being affected by whatever issue, if we make that issue our own, I think that's when we really try to start to understand the concept of community. Civic engagement and what all of the students are doing here at Wagner is an incredible example of that. When we had those portraits that Lee just told me they're going to come out on the Staten Advance this Sunday, we brought students who have never talked to immigrant workers and sat down and interviewed them. And then they wrote whatever they got from them. And these profiles are amazing. This is the true results of bringing people together to learn about each other and now just telling them in their own words. It's not easy to think about others before others' needs before your own. And I think once you get out of your comfort zone, it's not easy. We all like to be in our own comfort zone. It's not easy. But I think that those experiences that you will get when you do that is really something that is going to affect everybody around you, and it's also something that is going to really affect you for your lifetime. So, thank you.
Wagner College, gratefully acknowledges the extraordinary contributions of Gonzalo Mercado and El Centro del Inmigrante for strengthening communities by creating transformative programs and services that nourish the body, mind, and spirit. Thank you, Gonzalo.